Anything. Sometimes you have to look at your blood type to optimize your health. You heard me talking about using a systematic approach to wellness. And I talked, one of the aspects was nutrition, physical activity, awareness, divine spirit, God, motivation. And I talked about the environment, which Miss Debbie elegantly laid out the resources and the calendar to support your health. So the idea that Rita's going to kind of share some information. She comes to us a background in holistic, a graduate degree in holistic counseling. But she's also involved in different aspects. And I'm just going to kind of review her bio. She's a wellness consultant at Greenworks, Washington, D.C., and an advocate for all green that supports sustainable living. Through victories won over life-threatening health challenges, Ms. Campbell discovered a miraculous healing of chronic illness that can be accomplished when tonic burdens are released from the body and mind. Toxic.
Right.
Toxic. And so when we talk about toxic, a lot of times we talk about toxic, we talk about the environmental factors, waste. But toxicity can also come from prescription drugs, and that's why it's also important that you consume a lot of water, because water helps to flush the toxin out of your body. I mean, if you go to third world countries like, let's say, for example, Jamaica, and you find out that in terms of the economy over there, it's very worse. But in terms of the health and wealth of the people, they're thriving. Okay? Coconut juice is one of the things they use for purification of the body. This regular coconut juice, I know that that's been commercialized now. You see a lot of these coconut juices, but you go to the regular store and you get your fresh coconut and pop a little hole in it and consume that, and I'll guarantee you within about 15 to 20 minutes, your body will feel revived. So I'm going to let Rita kind of talk to you based on her experience and expertise with nutrition, tonic, toxins to the body, and how you could potentially get rid of these things. Okay? Rita, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'll do the opportunity to pass those out for you.
All right, sure. Thank you.
All right.
Hi, everybody. I'm really honored to be here to share this information with you about how I really stepped outside of the system. And I had a number of really critical health challenges that I addressed purely with nutrition. And it took, the cultivation of, an attitude to take the leap of faith to kind of walk away from what had been hurting my body and hurting my mind, because whenever I had an issue, I'd go into the doctor and they'd give me something that would create a whole host of side effects. So, it turned out that I am a blood type A, and I had no information about that back in my 20s. And A's are the most fragile of all the blood types, and we die the youngest statistically. And it turns out as well that I'm something called a non-secretor, and I do not secrete my blood type antigen over my internal organs. So of all of the blood types, which are of the system O, A, B, and AB, I am the most fragile. And, I didn't recognize all of the threats that I had been born into to my health. And I would have been really transitioned by now into the next dimension had I not had the very basic skill of reading and the recognition of the red flags that would have really brought on an early demise. Both of my parents were smokers and drinkers, and so I had the secondhand smoke, and I had the imprint to kind of start doing that as soon as I got away from them, because their message was mixed. Do as I say, not as I do. And as soon as I got out from under their auspices, I was drinking and smoking, and it turns out that there were a lot of myths going on back then as well about, if I stop smoking when I'm pregnant or before I get pregnant, then the fetus is safe and protected. And that's not true, because the mother has that imprint, and the father has that heavy metal and has all of the toxins of the cigarette smoke in the DNA and the mitochondria, and the mitochondrial level, and all that is transferred into the child. So we're born many times compromised if we've been born into a family that has those patterns of behavior. But let's see, is there a way I can jump to? Okay. That's okay. I'll just stick with that then, because I wanted to jump to another slide first. But okay. Okay, keep going. We'll keep going. Right here. So, before we go any further, I wanted to kind of introduce you to what put me on the path of healing. I started meditating in '71, and I'm about a year shy of 60 now, and I have deconstructed my entire profile and rebuilt my system because I saw the red flags. And what really was the key, this is the linchpin, the kingpin of what allowed me to create the space for myself to start to recognize what had to be done, to attract the resources, to do the self-study, to really sit down and recognize what's ego-driven behavior. I had to look at my priorities and eliminate those things that would erode that time and space that I needed to have for myself. So, for instance, as a part of my daily meditation, I would be able, as a result of that, I would be able to recognize, okay, you're in a critical, well, actually the first recognition was, okay, you want to get your actions in alignment with your values, and I recognized that in order to heal, I had to go through a therapeutic period where I had to eliminate the cigarettes and the alcohol. And that was a big deal with everybody around me, smoking and drinking. And all of the advertising was so fabulous back then. You know, the beer had bright colors and, yellows and bumblebees and come to me, I'm a new flavor. And it turned out that wheat and the yeast in alcohol was just creating a really bad situation with my GI tract. And when I put those pieces together, I recognized I had to stop that pattern of behavior. And that this meditation helped me cultivate that discipline to recognize what had to be done. And, you know, that was about making choices in every moment when I would go out to cocktail parties and I'd have my water with me. And I would have to say no to people because people were really like, you can't come here and not drink. So this whole pattern of behavior also helped me look at how I was complaining, and I had to be honest with myself about the choices I was making. So the time to address health care is now. The way to stop a runaway train is to sit still, slow your roll, and spend a portion of your day, as Deepak Chopra says, as a human being, not a human always doing. So this is like one of the major tools I found in addressing the healing process. Excuse me, this is filtered water. They have filters now built into the bottled water, and that's a big thing that I know you're hearing it all over and over again. You have to keep up with your hydration in order to move toxins through your body. Let's see. Now, as a part of that whole process, I was moving into, I don't know, a variety of different meditations. I experienced just the sitting meditation, I guess, was my first point of entry. And then I experimented with yoga, eye yoga, mudras and mantras. Mudras and mantras are very helpful to keep you on track if you have like a dietary intention or anything that you're trying to clear or get balanced and stabilized. Michio Kushi's self-massage was something that also helped me create space for myself. But the core was the sitting meditation, and then I would use that space whenever I'd find something new I'd want to explore. I'd use that space and take a little extra time and do some study around that particular thing I wanted to move forward with. And so it was like a little template I would hang different things on and make progress in that manner with my healing. So what I wanted to do is just show you what I have a little morning ritual that starts with some Tibetan chimes. These are ancient Tibetan chimes, replicas, of course. And so if you want to get onto your healing path, it's a good idea to consider maybe a sitting meditation or an active meditation. There are these mudras and mantras, as I said, you can do them while you're walking, and just to focus on your breath. That's what you want to do as a stress management technique, and it's a whole non-denominational approach. You don't have to look at it as some sort of Eastern religion or philosophy. I think you've probably heard how the hospitals are using meditation to manage stress right now. So maybe we could take for a moment just a little sitting meditation in order to get focused after all that wonderful laughing we did. And so you can have a new level of receptivity to all the new information that I might share right now. I'd like to begin with creating the space with this sound. And we can sit closing our eyes, taking a deep, deep breath to clear the lungs. And then slow that breath down, but watching the breath as it passes your nostrils. Will bring a centering and relaxing place that you can find at any time and place. When you're coming out from work, you sit in your car, you create that space for yourself. And what you might want to do while you have your eyes closed and you're watching your breath is contract different parts of your body. Spend time recognizing where you're holding your stress, and then contract and then release. Contract your feet. Tighten up your feet muscles and then relax. Then move throughout your body, tightening up your calf muscles and relaxing. And tightening up your thigh muscles and relaxing. Then tightening up your butt muscles and relaxing. And if any thought emerges, you let that thought go without punishing yourself for having thoughts. You want to create space. You want to let go of the clutter. You want to take out the trash. And this very, very simple process of being still allows you to process all of the overwhelming media, the gossip, so you begin to recognize how to make yourself the first priority. And this is really essential in addressing an intention to heal, because so many of us move into our aging process and we're still looking for the next party. We're still caught up in another person's drama. Just take for a few moments, another 3 breaths. And just watch the breath as it passes your nostrils. and then return to this space. So I keep a timer, and I use that just because, we're all time challenged, and the whole trick is to figure out how to address these issues that we're facing. Do any of you have any immediate health issues right now that you'd like to address, or that you're currently addressing? Diabetes, arthritis, weight management, the high blood pressure. Anything else? Yes? Osteoporosis. All these things can be addressed with nutrition. And I know it's hard to believe, and I know we've had a divergent collection of ideas about how to address these really critical health issues. And I'm coming from a very purely experiential place when I realized that drugs only created havoc in my metabolic efficiency. And I'm like the bird, the canary in the mine shaft, because I had, they gave me, when I went into the health services at my university, I said, I can't sleep. Instead of the guy saying, well, sit down, let's talk about what's going on in your life, he gave me a sleep aid. And the sleep aid, I took it without reading the label, and the sleep aid, of course, had all of these things, creating suicidal ideation, motor function problems, and all these things that suddenly I was like, why do I want to kill myself? And it turned out, I finally looked at the PDA after this stuff had built up in my system, and I said, oh, no wonder, this is not me. This is not me. And I had that insight, and luckily I was gathering my will, because I just went cold turkey. I just eliminated the coffee, the alcohol, the sugar, and I started on that path to stop the train. Because when I really wanted to kill myself, I called somebody with the conventional medical people, and they said, oh, we can't see you for another 30 days. I said, oh, that's some system really ready to care for me when I'm about to take a leap. So that was one. There were so many instances that put me on the path. So I just detoxed by myself and went through all of the delirium tremors and everything all on my own, that many people probably would have gone to a community center, a facility like Edge Hill or whatever. So I just, when I couldn't sleep, I'd just work out, go running, meditate. I did this on my own, and then with that energy, there were things I started to resonate with. And this gynecologist, we can move to the foundational healing. That was the first slide. Go back to the first slide. So I had something called PID since adolescence, like when I was 14. And apparently that was when I first started getting systemic candidiasis. But I didn't have an expression of it at a level that was revealed on the lab tests, because things are emerging, and many times things are happening, and you're at a radical place when you can find it on the lab test. So they found a mass in my fallopian tube, and the gynecologist wanted to do a hysterectomy. So I said, well, I'm reading about, I see my case in this book, and I brought these books because this shows the evolution of my healing. And we're really in this 5-part healing template. I just want to show you how I move through these different experiences with the power of knowledge, looking at masters who are in the field, who are sharing this information, and actually just doing what they said to do. And it turns out that in the end, I've ended up integrating a number of different guidelines from masters over the years. But this guy has a seminal book in 1975, John Parker Trowbridge, and his whole, I can't even call it a theory because it's a reality. He's saying that we all carry Candida albicans in our guts. So you guys are aware of it. That's great news, because what happens is when you have too many antibiotics, too many sugars, alcohol, anesthesia, all this stuff erodes the good intestinal flora that we have. We all carry around 3 to 4 pounds of intestinal flora. So this yeast that we carry around, and some people have expressions like athlete's foot or recurring vaginal infections or thrush. Babies get that delivered to them from their mothers when they are going through the delivery canal. So it turns out that he said, well, I see this thing on the sonogram, let's schedule a surgery. And I said, well, I'm going to do this diet. And in 3 weeks of eliminating the sugars and all that other stuff that was feeding the fungus, it had changed from a yeast into a fungus. And what happens is it creates something called leaky gut, where it bores holes in your GI tract, and little bits of food migrate into your tissues. So I had a whole constellation of things, actually, in addition to this mass on my fallopian tube. I had diabetes. I had arthritis. I was wondering how I could walk up the stairs after having spent my young adult years running every day or swimming. And this whole constellation of issues was in like a confluence. And then I saw my case in here. I said, I'm doing this guy's diet. And I had the will. I had been cultivating the will with my meditation to stick to it through all the lethargy that happens when you get the die-off of this fungus. And he's saying that 85% of our population with chronic illness is suffering from this because our whole culture is run by sugar and alcohol and antibiotics. And then on top of that now we have the pesticides and the mercury from the dental restorations. Not only the mercury, but you have the titanium and other metals. So whenever you're chewing or drinking alcohol, you're leaching these metals into your tissues, and these metals farm the candida. So I went back 3 weeks later, and he couldn't find the mass on my fallopian tube, and said, well, I guess you don't need this surgery. I'm glad he told me, because he could have just said, oh, you still need the surgery. But I was really kind of disappointed in his response, because he said, well, what did you do? I said, I did this diet by John Parker Trowbridge, who was an integrative MD. And he said, well, what's that? And I started to tell him about this diet, and his eyes glazed over. He didn't want to hear any more. And you probably heard how the system kind of responds in that manner. So 8 out of the 10 things I was suffering from, the arthritis, and I went to someone about this arthritis issue, and it wasn't a chiropractor. It was who's the guy with the bones? No, isn't it? No, but it's the medical one. But anyway, orthopedic specialist, and he wanted to shoot me up with corticosteroids. And I said, well, before you do that, I said, let me just continue, because all these things were happening at once. I was depressed, so I even went shopping for a psychoanalyst who wanted to give me Prozac. And then I said, oh, no. Instead, I took blue-green algae. A nutritionist was struggling with me for months, and I finally said, okay, I'll spend the money. So I took the blue-green algae, and the depression was eliminated within a day, actually. And from this, I've been taking it for 30 years now. And it increased the pace of my reading. What it does is it ties up the heavy metals, and I had 9 fillings. And I didn't realize at that point that these fillings had to be changed to ceramic in order for me to really get rid of the yeast. But I had gotten to a point where I avoided the surgery, and it allowed me to move forward. I just met a guy at the Shoppers Food Warehouse day before yesterday who's a double amputee, and he was in his wheelchair. And I said, well, we had a conversation afterwards. I said, is that what happened with was it the diabetes that ended up creating this surgery? And he said, yes. The doctor told me my legs had fungus and that my lymph nodes were hardening, and that's all that they could do. And, you hate to tell somebody who's gone to that extreme and allowed that to happen, that kind of a mutilation, that there are other ways that this could have been addressed. And I met another woman who had a knee replacement the other day, and she was going through physical therapy, and it turned out that she's a sugar maniac. She was baking cakes for the school, and I said, oh boy, you know, this thing you can address, and there are other problems that are going to come up. So even if you have done something that's radical, you can still address rebalancing your gut and do the tissue cleansing, because that is, you're doing the bowel cleansing and the tissue cleansing. And what you're doing is you're eliminating the sugars, so you have the die-off of the fungus in you have the die-off of those tentacles. So I thought that the knee bit was impact injury from all that running. Turned out that my synovial sacs were rebuilt, and once I was able to get that absorption back in there and, you know, of the nutrition, I run, I swim, I do yoga, I feel better than I did then. Now, this is another, okay, where are we? The adrenal. So what we were doing at the part 1 is the point of, where am I now with the time?
Okay.
10 minutes? Where am I with time? Because we're going to run.
Good.
5 minutes? Okay. So this was a point of entry book for me that is still a good point of entry. For all of you who need to see a profile of the herbs and other resources that you can look at. But what I want you to do is consider, and this is part of that nutrient uptake, part 1, I want you to consider using the filter of the blood type information, because every blood type has a profile of foods that are medicinal and foods that are neutral and foods that you should avoid. And what I did after I got going with this baby, I ran into this book. No, actually, it was I was experimenting with this and buying the therapeutic levels of nutrition, because you know, you can't just take little bits and pieces. If you're in a radical place, you know, I needed 30, there was a Garden of Life product called Primal Defense, and their whole proposal, before I knew how to do something called muscle testing in order to find out what my exact dosage is, was to move to 30 pills per day to get topped off with probiotics. All of these microbes that were caught up in my knees and my lungs, I used to have chronic bronchitis. I haven't had a cold in 25 years now. And it was a pretty amazing turnaround. And my father died from, you know, lung cancer. I had microbes and metals and everything coming in. Also with the athlete's foot that I had, I was using something called suppression therapy, which is part of the conventional medical view about how to address things. So I was using Desinex and Lotrimin, and that was pushing the fungus into my feet. Then when I started using the expressive therapy, moving things out, opening the channels, opening the pathways to release things, when I put all those good probiotics into my body, the microbes were running out of me like crazy. And you will be, with the meditation, it was the meditation that allowed me to recognize the difference between an actual athlete's foot episode or an actual arthritic feeling and a healing process. But now, today, there's homeopathics and things where you don't have to have such a dramatic experience like that, of that. But, you know, it's probably good to have some drainage or recognition of when you're actually having, moving to a higher level, because you don't want to run to the doctor and say, oh, if you got this going, you don't, because they'll say, oh, you're having another episode, let me give you a drug. And so my whole point about the meditation is it allows you a level of discernment so that you can protect your boundaries and you can take back your authority. So each blood type has a profile of foods that, as I said, enhances metabolic efficiency and immunity. And they have foods that are, for each blood type, that are avoids, and these avoids create something called lectins, lectins. And the lectins, I think, I don't want to move from here yet. The lectins do something called a glutenate in areas on your immune system, your receptor sites. And this agglutination can also turn on, well, it turns on genetic markers for disease that you're genetically predisposed to. So this is another level of burden. You have the microbial with things like the fungus and the microbes I was talking about. Then you have the lectins. And I know it sounds complicated, but life is, I'm sorry, it can't be like a soundbite about what to do. And this is what the meditation is for, because you have some things to integrate. And I did this over, 35 years. And so, you just have to take little baby steps and use your meditation time to study. So the next level is you have the lectins for each blood type that also is something you need to drain from the body. And that releasing of the burden of the lectins, releasing of the burden of the fungus allows the healing to emerge. And I mean miraculous healing. I've gotten rid of Lyme disease, HSV, of course the diabetes and arthritis, and I resisted the doctors treating me symptomatically. So that's the lectins, and then the next big deal, let's jump, okay, so we have the drainage going. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. We have the drainage going on. And I'm sorry, am I moving too fast? Okay, you guys are getting this?
You have a wealth of knowledge.
I know.
I don't think we could just convey it all in one day. I mean, it's
I know, I did it again.
Plenty of information.
Huh?
We did a seminar with you.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to wrap it up, and we only got to really one part of it, but I wanted you to get a sense of, okay, they're getting rid of, that every day we hear the threat that there's no Medicare. We're getting to a point where Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security is starting to run down. So these are the things to look at. And then also the main thing that, okay, you have the blood type thing to look at, but these environmental toxins and the dental restorations, please Google amalgams, dental amalgams, dangers and risks. Google, and I have some handouts to give you here too, root canals. Because these are the areas where microbes are being generated, they're moving throughout your body, and they're creating havoc. They are hormone disruptors, and the medical people are not asking you what your dental history is. And so after I had my 9 fillings replaced with ceramics, you can't imagine the level of lift I got from having that metal. It's just like lead in your body. So we got through 2 of these, and see, I had this problem today. I said, how can I convey? I have so much.
Right.
And so that's basically it. We're going to eliminate the second meditation, and this is a good book. And you can take a look at these books, and I'll pass out the...
Yeah, I have to hand your brochure out. So,
Okay.
again,
All right.
Rita comes with a wealth of knowledge. I've passed out the information. Feel free to contact her for additional, but she is a witness that you can transform or transcend self. She also is a testimony that sometimes for self-care, it requires a level of understanding. What you're getting here is not the cure, but it's the initiative that you need to take to further understand you and what you can do to preserve you. Right. So, Rita, I really appreciate the wealth of knowledge. We're handing out information, and yeah, but that's all right. We're all passionate about these subjects, and I was thinking, sitting down, that we need 3 more days. We need to leverage what the Parks and Recreation have, like a 3-day event, or at least a 2-day event, something like that.
We need an on-site event.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Hey, let's give Rita a great hand. Right. You did great.
But I couldn't.
So, our last presenter of the day is Miss Jody Roblin? 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 I'm sorry, I can't. Roblin? I'm sorry, I should have looked up there. Miss Jody Roblin. Let me go back again. Jody and I are also recent graduates from the wellness. I think her specialty was health coaching, mine was wellness coaching. So we had spent an awful lot of time as well as Nearer back there, and as well as Grace, sitting in the same classroom for 9 months of intensive learning about this whole thing of looking at this healthcare, wellness, things that we can do to assist and facilitate wellness within ourselves as well as others. So she comes with a background as a registered nurse and educator. For the last, 25 years, pediatric nurse, and she's got a wealth of background, but she's going to talk to us today about sleep hygiene. And I think that's very important. So, Jody, I'm going to take it over.
Thanks, Greg. All right.
You need the mic? Right here.
You want me to use the mic? Can you all hear me if I talk really loud?
Yeah.
Does everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I think I'll go without it if that's okay, so I can have both hands free. So I'm going to talk about sleep hygiene, and we've all probably been stressed in our lives, had busy lives, and for whatever reason decided, oh, I got to stay up and finish this project. I got to stay up and write this paper. I got to stay up. I got to get the kids to bed, and then I've got to do the laundry and do the dishes, and then things go by the wayside. You might not eat as well. You might not sleep as much, you might not exercise as much, right? You might not pay attention to your body, okay, as much. So we're going to talk about sleep hygiene. So initially, what I gave you was a handout that has it has a lot of the slides on it. It doesn't have all the slides on it, but we're going to start by objectives. We're just going to talk about what is a regular bedtime routine, and I was in the middle of doing this postgraduate course, and we would partner up and we would do coaching among ourselves, and we had to think of something to talk about. So I decided I'm going to talk about sleep because I'm really exhausted. And one of the ideas that came out of that little 10-minute coaching session was that I was going to make myself have a bedtime routine because I'd gotten away from it. All right. So everybody knows this saying, "You sleep like a baby," right? Everybody knows this. So how does a baby sleep? Peacefully. Yeah. I'm sorry, what?
He wakes up every 2-3 hours.
Well, right. A newborn baby is going to do that. And I'm in pediatrics, so I see parents and I see the babies. And yes, when you have a brand new baby, you're sleep deprived. Right? Eventually you won't be, but you are. But let's say this is a 1-year-old and they're falling asleep and you're on the way home. And there they are, and they're peaceful. How else do they look?
They look like they don't have a care in the world.
Right, not a care in the world, and they're relaxed. You could pull their arm up and it would just go right back. Right. So their body and their muscles are totally relaxed. All right. So we're going to talk about regular bedtime routine, activities that promote sleep, either bedtime activities and daytime activities that promote sleep, and what are the consequences of not getting enough sleep, and then what are the benefits of sleep. Okay. Excellent. She's there already. Okay. All right. So this is our activity. Remember when you were a kid? What was your bedtime routine when you were a kid? Do you have a certain time you had to go to bed?
Yeah.
9 o'clock? You got to sit till I had to go to bed at 7:30. In the summer, it was dark out. It wasn't even dark out yet. We didn't go to sleep. We chatted.
Yeah.
With my sister. Okay. So you have a bedtime. You have a bedtime. At times you go to sleep. What else do you have? What do kids do? What do you do for your kids?
You take a bath.
Read them a story. Give them a bath. Right. Brush your teeth.
Wash your face.
Prayers.
Wash your face. Go to the bathroom. Right. Give them hugs and kisses. And you kind of move it so that you're getting the bath. That's a little bit of activity, okay? Then you quiet it down, you read the story, then you get them into bed and you say goodnight, I love you, okay? So there's a process to going to sleep, all right? So those are some of the, so how well did you sleep as a kid? I want you to write it on your paper if you want to. This is for you. This is just for you now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how well do you think you slept when you were a kid? Okay. And was there anything when you were a kid that interfered with getting a good night's sleep?
Maybe the ghost story you heard before you went to bed.
Oh, if it was one of those like really scary Hansel and Gretel, a scary story before bedtime. Right, gotta modify those. Anything else?
I was just very sensitive to noise. I was like, I just remember like getting angry with my parents if the TV was too loud. I couldn't sleep. And now sometimes I wear earplugs.
Okay, so you wear earplugs. That's a good thing. So you have to know kind of what bothers you. I remember there was a street light in the summer when the shade would be up because the window would be open, and there was a street light that would shine in my eyes, and I would position myself differently on my bed so it wouldn't shine in my eyes. Because if I rolled a certain way, I'd feel my face dead. Anybody else?
If you eat something, you disagree with you.
Right. You eat something spicy, baby, and then you're like, this aren't spicy, but well, right. Good. Good. All right. And what are some activities during the day that help you sleep at night?
Exercise.
Exercise. How many?
Stretching.
Stretching. Good.
Running.
Writing?
Running.
Running. Okay. Music, meditation, I hear. Right. Reading? Yeah. Okay. So, sure. As a parent, and you want your child to sleep, you might decide, let's get him to the park. Let's take him for a walk. Make sure they get plenty of exercise this afternoon.
Tired.
Yep, tire them out. Sure, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? So when they're babies, they're going to sleep anyway. Like a 1-year-old, they might take a morning nap. If you wear them out too early in the morning, they're just going to take a nap and then be revved up when they're awake. Then they wake up 2 hours later and like, I'm ready to go. Okay, let's go play on the playground or whatever. Okay, or they're building with blocks or whatever. So activities definitely do. All right. Next slide. So, how about for y'all? How many hours of sleep did you get last night? Write it down on a piece of paper. Somebody else, 7? 4? Did you say 4?
Maybe 6.
6? 3. 3? Oh, Grace, you don't count. No, she counts because see, she's stressed about this. All right. 7. So what do you think? Do you know what the recommended number of hours in general?
8 hours.
About 8. 7 to 8. I see some sources will say 7 to 9 hours a night.
That's for an adult, right?
This is an adult. Yeah, we're talking about adults now. Yeah. All right.
Jody, a question.
Yeah.
When you talk about 8 hours of sleep, I know that's been the recommendation for a period of time, but what is that based on? Is there any research?
Yeah. So it's kind of based on like what the average is. I mean, they've done different research, so you can put people in a sleep lab and actually just let them sleep, and they do that, and they look at the different cycles of sleep that you go through and what those different cycles are. I don't know all that detail, but that's in general. So in general, you think 8 hours. Some people do well with 7 hours. Some people need 9 hours. So that's just a range.
And the reason why I ask that question because you look at various countries based on diet, physical activity, and things of this nature, meditation, prayer, you find that the body is less stressed. And so if the body is less stressed, it doesn't need prolonged periods to recover. And so you find that a lot of companies, like Spartans per se, they sleep less, but yet they can perform at peak performance. So that's why I was wondering, is this something the U.S. has established a standard based on dietary choices, lifestyles, and stuff like that, we should get 8 hours of sleep?
So probably yes, is that it's a U.S. thing. Because you can go to like Mexico or you can go to some Spanish-speaking country and they're going to have siestas during the daytime, where it's really hot. So they're going to sleep, but they're going to have siestas, and they're up later till late at night. So they might get 8 hours a day, but they might split it between like 6 and 10. And there's lots of different cultural ways of getting sleep. Okay. So in our society, we don't stop for lunch. We take a big break. So that's kind of probably why there's a difference there. And meditation has definitely shown that you can have more restful sleep. Okay. So that's one of the things that promotes good sleep. Yeah. All right. Where are we? So do you wake up feeling well rested? Do you feel well rested? Okay. And think about what is your bedtime routine these days. And then maybe by the end you'll think you might want to change something. And how do you prepare for sleep during the day? All right. Excellent. So good sleep requires a consistent bedtime routine, daytime activities to promote health, bedtime activities to promote health, and eliminating activities that hinder sleep. So the first thing, consistent bedtime. So you individualize this to whatever you need, okay? But we've already talked about not everybody bathes and showers at night, but that is one thing that if it helps you to relax and to wind down, then that's a perfectly good time to do it. Okay, so you bathe, you put on your pajamas, whatever you wear, brush your teeth, illumination, say goodnight. We kind of talked about this. And this is key. So usually falling asleep in a dark, quiet, cool, like a low humidity environment helps you sleep better. Okay. And bedtime activities that promote sleep. We talked about some of these: soothing music, reading, stretching exercises, meditation. I added sometimes people will drink like sleepy time tea, has chamomile in it. So there are herbs that are soothing and calming, as well as like warm milk. Massage, controlled breathing exercises. The breathing exercises, the one that we did with Rita, that was a perfect example of just, if you're thinking, you've got all these thoughts going in your mind and I can't settle down to sleep, just being mindful and doing a breathing exercise can help with that. And clean bedroom with soothing colors. So if you have a bedroom that's got, it's like my daughter's, which is like clothes all over the place, and she doesn't believe me that picking up the clutter makes you feel less cluttered. But that's true, and they show that. Soothing colors are colors like blue, green, pastels, okay, can make you feel different. I remember years ago I had a book of colors for my kids, and it was a Sesame Street book, and one of the colors was blue. So you're in this mansion, and the different characters on Sesame Street go to different rooms. This is the red room and the yellow room. I feel happy in the yellow room, okay? And the blue room, I feel so blue, okay? But blue doesn't have to make you feel blue, but it's soothing as well as green, as a soothing color, or a pastel color. So we should be up to bedtime, another one. The next bedtime activities, we did that. Next one. Okay, hindering sleep. So I put first up there high electromagnetic field. Clock radios, televisions, computers, video games, which is usually computers too, but I separated them because they do different things. Heated water baths, electric blankets, and underlying cell phones. And this is probably not so much for our benefit, but I know all the teenagers that I see in my pediatric practice, they're on their cell phones, they're either chatting or they're texting till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I tell parents, you need to be mindful of this, you need to watch this, and they really need to, if you have to take away the phone at night after 10 o'clock, do it. Because this kid is losing sleep. They can't go to sleep at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, get up at 6 or 6:30 to be, most high schools are 6:45 to 7:30 is when they start classes. Okay. So all of that electronic equipment is a distraction, and I don't know that they have any hard proof, but it definitely, your brain, you have brain waves, right? Everybody's got brain waves. We don't see them really, but they're there. And they've tested them. They know they're there. When you're sleeping, you're in a much, much different brain state, wave state, than you are when you're awake. And if you've got electronic equipment in the room, when you're falling asleep to the TV, it's a different sleep. Okay? So ideally, you should not have a bunch of stuff in there. Getting out the TV, getting out the computer, having it in another place. Sleeping in a room that really is just for sleeping is probably going to be the best restful sleep that you can. So again, we talk about light, heat, humidity, noise, and interruptions. All those can interfere with it. Also, caffeine, alcohol, drugs, sweets and sugars, okay, eating too much during the day, like heartburn, somebody mentioned earlier, right, all can be processes and can prevent you from falling asleep and having a good night's sleep. Then we have stress, illness, anxiety, depression, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, food intolerances or allergies that all can contribute to that. And the first few is kind of a cycle. So the more stressed you are during the day, maybe the less sleep you get at night, but then the less sleep you get at night contributes to the stress that you have, and you get this really vicious cycle, and then you've got illness, okay, and anxiety and depression to go along with it. Yeah. Excellent. Next slide. So daytime activities that promote sleep. Obviously exercise, we talked about that. You don't want to do a lot of aerobic, heavy exercise within a couple hours of falling asleep. You could do a walk after dinner. You could do some light calisthenics or Pilates if you got a tape recorded session at home or whatever. But and stretching and meditation. But you don't want to do like lots of running on your treadmill at home at 10 o'clock at night. Nutritious diet, omega-3 fatty acids, which is good for your brain. So that's fish and seafood. Okay. Sunshine. I found this interesting because I was reading a book on adrenal fatigue. And he had a whole process of how to get yourself back into sleeping, your sleep and wake cycle, and keeping it on that normal rhythm, that's your rhythm, okay? And that is that sunlight between 7 and 9 a.m. helps to reset your biological clock and be ready for bed that night. And I didn't really believe it, but I found it in several places, and I think that's true. Do you live in Alaska? Do you live up north? You know, where they use those lights, like full spectrum lights, to look into and see, because otherwise they get depressed if you don't have a lot of sunlight. All right, stress reduction, relaxation techniques, meditation, and being joyful and giving to others. So you could laugh for a while, maybe, before you go to sleep. Maybe not like 10 minutes before you go to sleep, because you're probably going to stimulate yourself. Okay. Do some laughter yoga, and then we'll do some meditation, and we'll be ready for bed. All right, next slide. So consequences and health effects of not eating enough, of not sleeping enough. So you're sleepy during the day, fatigued, you don't have a lot of energy, okay, you're irritable, probably not a real pleasant person always to be around, particularly when you've been chronically deprived for a long time. It's harder to cope with stress, harder to adapt, you have more mood problems, difficulty in responding to others in unfamiliar situations. Like, I've never been here, I don't know what to do. Okay. That kind of coping is different. Shortened attention span, difficulty focusing. I'm going to go on to the poor school performance because of that attention span, difficulty attending to things, difficulty concentrating. Slowed reaction times and reflexes. So when you're sleep deprived and you're driving down the road, okay, you got to stop fast, put on the brakes, your reflex time is slower than if you had a good night's sleep. And so, I think it was the NIH study that showed that. Loss of physical strength. And then, that stimulates self with caffeine or energy drinks becomes a vicious cycle. That's another vicious cycle. So I had a friend I knew was chronically sleep deprived. He actually worked evenings, and he worked till about midnight or 2 in the morning. He's in the hotel business. But he drank caffeine. He drank Coca-Cola, Classic Coke. What do you get from Classic Coke? You get caffeine, and you get sugar. And they both stimulate you, okay, to keep going. Right. And then you kind of crash, and then you need it again. You need it again because of the sugar low. Okay. So it's a vicious cycle. Right. Next slide. More consequences. So this is more just disease related, but definitely you have there's more heart disease, high blood pressure, heart attack, high cholesterol, stroke, depression, weight gain, and obesity, diabetes. Those are all aging and degenerative diseases. Okay. So sleep isn't something that by itself is going to make you change that overnight, but it's one component along with nutrition, exercise, laughter, meditation, using stress reduction techniques that will help. Next. So, stress, mind, body, and not in balance. So the Institute of Medicine report said that treating insomnia is with the use of bedtime routines and rituals. So again, just like laughter and meditation, it doesn't cost you anything to do, something you can do by yourself on your own and decide what you can do to change your bedtime routine. So health benefits of sleep. Next slide, please. Feel well rested and energetic for the day ahead. You accomplish tasks efficiently and timely. You feel happy, joyful. You get along well with everybody. You're able to handle stress with better, more negotiating skills, coping skills. And you get to fall asleep better later that night. So next slide. So what is sleep? Sleep is there's different things. Everybody thinks that, what do you think? When you fall asleep, what happens to your body? What are you doing? You know?
Resting.
You're resting. So you're resting, what are you resting? Your body.
Your body, your mind, everything.
Right. You're resting your body and your mind. So your muscles relax, your nerves relax, your mind is well, you're asleep, and so you're not really conscious of what your mind is doing. So your mind is resting, but what we know is that your brain is still working. Your brain is pruning out those neurons it doesn't need, and it's building up and forming and strengthening those relationships between other neurons that you do need. And your body kind of knows what it needs, because it's been what you've been doing over and over. It's going to keep those neurons. All right. So sleep is a restorative process. It serves to replenish both physiologically and psychologically, and as an essential part of the human cycle, daily cycle. Sleep is a determining factor in the state of a person's health. So again, it's a cycle. It's a rhythm. Okay. Next slide, please. Furthermore, so the NIH says that while you sleep, your brain is hard at work, forming the pathways necessary for learning and creating memories and new insights. And Deepak Chopra says the purpose of sleep is to allow the body to repair and rejuvenate itself. The deep rest provided during sleep allows the body to recover from fatigue and stress and enlivens the body's own self-repair and homeostatic balancing mechanism. So it's a balance. Okay, that's right. You're restoring and balancing and improving. Next slide, please. We're almost done. Are you timing me? No. A couple minutes?
Yeah.
All right. So, in short, our lives have gotten out of balance with nature's rhythm, and sleep is most definitely one of those rhythmic cycles. All right. So, living in harmony is kind of what we want to do, and it just says that it does react on a molecular level. So, it's kind of going back, I think, to Rita's talk, because things happen on like what we know and what we're aware of, and things happen at a molecular level, even biochemical level, but we don't know everything about it. All right, next slide. Tell you what. Do you want me to wrap up? Let me just do. Okay, go to the next slide. So this is the Institute of Medicine said it's estimated from 50 to 70 million Americans chronically suffer from a disorder of sleep and wakefulness, hindering daily functioning and adversely affecting their health and longevity. Next slide. The cumulative effects of sleep loss and sleep disorders represent an under-recognized public health problem and have been associated with a wide range of health consequences, like what we talked about already: hypertension, diabetes, obesity, depression, heart attack, and stroke. All right? So that's the Institute of Medicine. Next slide, please. Almost 20% of all serious car crash injuries in the general population are associated with sleep or driving. Driver sleepiness.
Sleep or driving. That's good.
How many of you would have ever thought that before? As many as 20, you think so?
Yeah.
20%.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. And hundreds of billions of dollars of costs are from going to the doctor, I can't sleep, getting a sleeping pill that are going to help you, but not in the long run. Right? So there's a lot of money spent on it. Next slide. All right. Yes. Oh. So, this is an activity. So what we're going to do is just, you're going to write, you can write on your little paper, and we can share some if you want to. But, so now that you know a little bit about sleep, and you probably already know this, it's kind of a review in a way. And it's really more of a way to think about what can you do, what could you commit to change in your own sleep routine that would make you sleep better, okay? So what are you willing to change about your bedtime routine, and how can you change this? Think about what are your goals for quantity and quality of sleep. You may not know what your quantity is until you experiment with it a little bit. But if you can, it's not always easy. It's not easy for me, but to be able to fall asleep and not to be able to go to work the next day, and not be able to have any obligations the next day, and not have to get up at a certain time, and not even have my alarm clock. You know, I mean, I don't get a lot of those days. But when I get them, I feel like it's such a gift. All right? Yeah. It is. So then I started thinking, well, when I was younger, when I was a kid, how much did I sleep and didn't have to get, or that I slept and I got up in time for school, and I didn't have an alarm clock. My mother would wake me up, I suppose, if I wasn't up awake, but usually I was awake. Okay. All right. So, what is your next step? Let's do the next one. All right, so compose a bedtime routine that is best for you. All right. Think about these. What bedtime activities can you do to relax and wind down? What can you change about your physical environment? Oh, I forgot the one thing, the bed. So, heat, temperature, heat, humidity, light, noise, interruptions, we want to eliminate when we want a good bed, right? You want to sleep on a nice, firm bed, or a sleep mattress bed if you want to. But whatever is good for you, all right? Some people want a very firm bed. Some people want a pretty firm bed. Some people want a soft bed. All right? But it really depends on how you sleep and when you sleep best. And then time to get ready to go to bed, time to wake up in the morning, and most of all, how you feel during the day. So, does anybody have any particular activity they've decided already that they want to do?
How do you address sleep apnea?
Yeah.
I'm struggling.
Sleep apnea, I don't know whether just doing different routines is going to help. Whatever other underlying health conditions that need to be treated for that, I would go that way. I mean, sometimes it's because, in kids, it's because they have hypertrophy, tonsils, and adenoids. So some of them get tonsillectomies because of it, and they get better. With the older population, sometimes it's overweight or it's other diseases that cause it, and you're not getting the oxygen that you need. So the answer is, I'm not sure to tell you whether this is going to change it, but it might help in some way.
Change some of the routine.
Yeah. Anything else?
I was actually going to ask about meditation. Would it be a good time to do that before you go to sleep at night?
So, does anybody know? Is it a good time to meditate before you go to sleep?
That's a good time for me.
Wake in, before.
So do you mean like get into bed, go to sleep, and put on a little meditation tape? So I actually do that, but I don't know what anybody else does, and I don't know any research on it. But I fall asleep to mine often, and